This is a video of how I make wooden airplanes. I'm making this video as a request by Steve Ramsey, who asked us to submit videos or pictures of how we make wooden airplanes. I lost my father about 3 years ago to cancer, and I enjoy working in my shop. And this was a way that I worked through the loss of my father. I wanted to make an airplane, and I didn't have an idea of what kind I wanted to make. I knew it wanted to be a warbird, but the overall feature was I wanted to make the fuselage out of a 2x4. So I found a couple planes that I liked, and I drew them and I scaled them so that the width of the fuselage would be the width of a 2x4. So I will show you how I make a plane. I'm not going to show you all the steps because no one wants to watch me on a bandsaw, but I'll show you the steps that I make to make my planes. This is a typical airplane right here on 11x17. There's my email. Here's the fuselage right here, the side and the bottom. And over here, this is the forward wing, and that's the tail. When I first did this, I wanted to make it realistic. I wanted to have the wing going through the middle and then on the tail as well. But I've since changed my mind because this is a weak point right here, and I really don't want to break the wood. So this is what I've done is I've cut it out. I've glued it to the wood. The first step is I'm going to cut on this side. You can use a jigsaw, you can use a bandsaw, whatever you're comfortable doing. I cut this out first. So after I cut this, let me put this aside. This is what I have. Now I went ahead and cut this part out for the tail, but you really don't have to do that. But this is what it's going to look like. All right. The next step is to cut these lines. This works well on a bandsaw. Today I just wanted to rough it up and show you how I did it, and I used a jigsaw. So when you cut these two lines, this side's going to come off, this side's going to come off, and this is what you're left with. You're left with the body of your plane. What I'll do here is I will take a sander and I'll sand up both sides. And this is a really good time with my trim router. I will remove all of these sharp corners and I'll round them off. Now you don't need to cut this out right now, but I did it just to show you what it's going to look like. So I'll get these two pieces out the way. The next thing is to cut the wing. The wing that I use is a 1/2 inch piece of poplar. You can use just about anything you want, but 1/2 inch I think looks pretty good. For the tail, I use a piece of 1/4 inch oak. And I use oak because it's a hardwood, and I think with something that thin that it's going to be very easy to break or split. The next step that I like to do is I will take this tail fin and I will trace a line on either side, and then I'll cut that out. And then I'll take the fuselage and I'll take the tail and I'll slip the tail in. This is the time where you will want to sand things down. You'll want to make things line up as best you can. And then what I do is put a clamp on there and just glue the tail to the fuselage. The next step is to take this wing and fit it to the fuselage. So I've already done that. And so what I'll do is when I'm done, I'll put one screw right there just to hold it. And what I have left is something that looks like a plane. You know you're doing pretty good when you get the wings to line up and they're level. what I will do is I will take my trim router and I will route that down to give it a nice smooth edge. So that's what it looks like when I'm done. I'll show you a couple planes that I have made. This one was a P40. So here's a finished one. This is what it looks like. And in this case, you can see where the wing went through the middle like I originally had it designed. It's hard to do that. The way that I do it is I will drill a hole up on the forward side and a hole in the back, the width of the wing. In this case, it would be a 1/2 inch hole, and then just connect those 2 holes. Slide the wing through, and then I will put 1 screw in there to hold it all together. So there's a P40. Here's another P40 that I made. I stained it, put some clear coat on there, and I really like this one because the grain of the wood has some lines, makes it look fast, makes it look like what this plane was made to do. And in this case, I had 2 screws. Here is a P51 Mustang. Once again, the wing went through. The wing has to go through on this one just because you have this cooling intake down here. And I've put it on the bottom before, but this is the only one I had left over. So that's a P51. Here's a Saberjet. Alright, same technique. Tail in first, wing in last. Couple screws holding it down. It's just a different shape. And this right here, this was, I really don't know what it was. I think it was a German plane. I just like the shape of it. Hadn't put the tail in yet. Haven't finished it. But when you're done with these planes, the nice thing is you can remove the screw. And if you have to carry it around, you can carry it around with you, and when you get where you're going, you put the wing on and you can sit there and play with it. I've made dozens of these, and I enjoy making every one of them. I've had a really good time. I really appreciate Steve for asking people to send in pictures or videos of their planes. I do have my plans. I recently moved, so they're on my computer someplace and I have to find them. But if you'll send me an email at midtownboatworks@att.net, I'll send you a copy of what I have. Thank you very much, Steve, for letting me make this video.